Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with my co-host, Cindy.
Hello, JC.
Hi, Cindy. This week, we're going to be talking about hiring a contractor, and we'd like to thank Carlos Joaquino for liking and sharing the podcast. And this week, we spoke to Mike from Fluidmaster, and he gave us some information on their Everything Toilet Tank Repair Kit.
Exciting.
Trade associations or guilds date back to ancient Rome. In Europe in the 1200s, guilds became popular as towns grew in size and trained tradespeople were needed. Craftsmen would form a group to agree on rules, quality standards, and best practices for each profession. And in a guild, you had masters, journeymen, and apprentices. Young boys were usually picked as apprentices, and they would board with the master's family, getting food, clothing, shelter, and training, but they wouldn't get any payment. And they usually worked as an apprentice for 5 to 9 years to learn their trade, and then after their apprenticeship, they became a journeyman, and then they started getting paid for their labor.
Wow.
This week we're going to talk about hiring a contractor for home repair projects. Most towns require a permit for major electrical, plumbing, and structural projects, and the work needs to be done by a licensed professional. Because some projects, like a room addition, updating an electrical service panel, foundation repair, replacing a furnace or boiler, or roofing, could be dangerous, deadly, or cause damage to your home if the work isn't done properly.
What are the different types of contractors?
So the main types are a general contractor, a subcontractor, and a trade contractor. A general contractor provides supplies and labor for the work. A subcontractor performs part or all the work for another person or a company's contract. For example, if you're hiring a professional to add an addition onto your home, you would hire a general contractor to control the whole project. And that person could do all the work themselves with their employees, or they would hire out subcontractors that are electricians, HVAC specialists, or plumbers. A general contractor would usually be hired for a large project. A trade contractor would be hired for a specific project like plumbing or electrical.
Cool.
The Federal Trade Commission says only consider contractors who are licensed and insured. Check with your state or county to confirm their license and get proof of insurance. Check with the local Home Builders Association to see if there's any complaints against the company, and search online for reviews for the company. Get multiple estimates with detailed descriptions of the work, materials, the completion date, and price so you can make an informed decision when you're comparing companies. Get a contract, even if your state doesn't require one, and make sure that the contract includes the contractor's name, address, phone number, and license number. It should have the start and estimated completion date of the project, details of the work and the cost of labor and the materials. And you should make sure it has a clause that says you have the right to cancel within 3 business days, but check with your state. Some states don't require this clause, but they're recommending that you put this in there, that anywhere between 3 and 5 days you can cancel the contract.
All right.
You should look at the entire contract and make sure that all blank spaces are filled out, and only put down a down payment. Don't put up half or the whole amount up front.
What percentage?
So a common percentage is 10 to 20% down,
Okay.
and some states limit the down payment. So you can check with your state's Consumer Protection Office, and they'll let you know the maximum amount that a contractor could require on a contract. And never make the final payment until all the work is complete and you're satisfied with it.
Right.
The FTC says there are a lot of home improvement scams.
Like what?
So they say some common tactics or things to be aware of is if a company comes knocking on your door saying they just happen to be in the area working on another project, so they're trying to get business, or they have leftover material from another job and they can save you some money if you let them do the repairs on your house now.
My dad would always tell anybody that came to the door that he was out of work. Or that my mom wasn't home and she's the only one that makes decisions.
That's funny.
I mean, my dad was like over 6 feet and over 300 pounds. So.
Yeah, he was a big man.
Yeah. And he's saying, no, my wife's not home. She's the only one that makes decisions.
Now leave.
Yes.
So they say a lot of companies say we need an answer now, or they want the total amount of the project up front and they want it in cash.
Yeah, man.
Another red flag would be they ask you to get any permits that are required, or they have a lender they know who can get you a loan for the repairs. The FTC says some scams involve you getting a home equity loan, the company gets paid by the lender, and then they never come back to your house.
Wow.
They say never agree to financing through your contractor without comparing loans and terms, and never sign a document that you haven't read or if it has any blank spaces. And never sign anything if you feel that someone is pressuring you.
My dad sometimes would call the police on them too.
Really?
Yeah, if they felt like they were being too aggressive, he would just call the cops.
It's funny, the FTC also recommended if you feel like you're being pressured or hassled, that you should call the police.
Good job, Dad.
They also say never transfer your deed to anyone without consulting an attorney, and make sure you keep all notes, emails, letters, and documents for any transaction. You can go to your state's Attorney General website for tips on hiring a contractor. I looked up ours in Illinois, and the Illinois Attorney General recommends when you're hiring a contractor to get multiple estimates in writing, never fall for high-pressure, low-cost bids. Get the name, address, and phone number of the business and do your research. Get a contract and make sure it includes the contractor's full name, address, phone number, and license number. It should have a detailed description of the work to be completed, the start and estimated finish date, the total cost of the work, and the method of payment. What the down payment will be, the subsequent payments, and the final payment. You want to see that schedule.
Okay. Don't
sign any contracts with blank spaces or a contract you don't fully understand.
They should be able to explain everything to you.
Right, absolutely.
And don't feel intimidated either.
Yeah, and if you're uncomfortable, I would hire an attorney to help you review the contract. You should find out whether the contractor guarantees the work and what products they're going to be using. Get lien waivers to protect against claims on you or your property if the contractor doesn't pay subcontractors or suppliers. And don't make a final payment till the work is done to your satisfaction and you've confirmed that the subcontractors and the suppliers have been paid. You have 3 business days in Illinois to cancel any contract signed at your home, but check with your state.
Cool.
In Illinois, the law requires that a contractor must provide a written list of the names and addresses of all parties furnishing materials and labor, and the amounts due or to become due to each. The law also requires subcontractors listed notify the homeowner when material has been furnished or the labor has been completed. And your contract should state a lien waiver will be provided to the contractor when the subcontractor is paid or the supplier is paid, and get those waivers when the materials are furnished or the subcontractor's work is done. Because a signed lien waiver is your protection against a company filing a mechanic's lien on your property.
What's that?
If a company or a person doesn't get paid, they can put a mechanic's lien on your property, and you can't sell your house until that lien is resolved.
Wow.
Which is pretty interesting. And mechanic's liens were developed by Thomas Jefferson. Construction workers at the time were called mechanics, which meant they worked with their hands.
Interesting.
And he developed this to help protect them.
It's nice.
If you're having a problem with a contractor you've hired, the Attorney General recommends sending a letter detailing the problems by certified mail. Make sure you get a return receipt request, and that way it confirms that your letter was received by the contractor or the company, and make sure you keep multiple copies and all the receipts. They recommend contacting your state's attorney general to file a complaint for cooperative mediation of the work if it's not getting done as agreed.
Cool. What are the benefits of hiring a licensed and insured contractor?
So they've studied their trade, they've passed the test, they've paid fees to get the license, and depending on your state, a licensed contractor is required to have general liability insurance and workers' compensation insurance. General liability insurance protects your property from damage. If a roofer is working on the roof and it collapses, causing damage inside your house, the insurance would cover all repairs. Workers' compensation covers any lost wages or medical bills for any workers who get injured working on your home. Check your state for requirements or your town if you live in a large town. Chicago, for example, requires licenses or registration for general contractors and other tradespeople. To get a license, they're required to disclose their business structure, like a sole proprietorship, partnership, or LLC, and provide proof of general liability and workers' compensation insurance.
Cool.
They need to go through a state agency to meet specific requirements and take a licensing exam.
Good.
In California, a contractor must verify 4 years of apprenticeship training. They have to pass trade and license law exams and a business exam, proving they have knowledge of basic skills, local codes, and laws. And that's going to vary between states.
Right.
We spoke to Mike from Fluidmaster and got some information on their new everything toilet tank repair kits. Mike, how you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me today.
Cindy and I were hoping you could give us some information on the everything toilet tank repair kit.
Sure, I'd love to. First, let me clarify that we actually have 2 everything kits or complete rebuild kits with everything in it.
Okay.
And one is for a 2-inch flush valve, which is the 2-inch flappers and the standard toilets that we've been seeing up until about 2005. And now after that, 2005 and up, we've seen a relative increase in 3-inch flush valves and larger toilets flushing less capacity or less water. So we have 2 kits that deal with both styles or sizes of toilets.
How would a homeowner pick which kit to purchase?
Sure. That's a great question, and that stumps a lot of people. First thing we would tell you to do is to look at the flapper valve on the inside of the tank. Make sure that you're working with a type of flush valve that has a chain that hooks up to a big flapper at the bottom. Usually it's rubber. And the best way to determine what flushing system you have is just to measure the flapper and its diameter across. If it's a 3-inch flapper, then you know you need a 2-inch flushing system. If your flapper is much larger and it measures almost 4 inches across, you need the 3-inch flushing system.
Okay.
Each kit is really cool because they both come with a lot of great features. And I want to start off with the second or the 2-inch kit first if I can.
Sure.
The difference between the kits really are the flush valves. The flush valves is what makes the kit because the flush valve is what's going to fit in the center of the toilet, and that's what's going to determine if it's a 2-inch or a 3-inch. On the 2-inch flushing kit, it has a telescoping overflow pipe. So, years past, people would buy a flush valve and they'd have to take a saw to it and cut it. They'd cut it too short and they'd have to buy another one. Well, Fluidmaster came out with a telescoping overflow pipe, which now allows you to put the flush valve into the tank regardless of its size, and then to pull up on the post, or the overflow pipe as we call it, and adjust it to just the right size to make a safe toilet.
Okay.
That flush valve also comes with our standard 502 flapper valve, which is an adjustable valve that allows you to adjust how much water leaves the tank for your high efficiency toilet. That's just one great thing about the everything kit that is coming into it. The other couple of things are brand new, and one of them have to do with our tools. We've now put in tools. We've gotten so many comments from customers saying, I have to go buy a new tool. I don't have a tool that is big enough for that large lock nut that holds the flush valve in place, which is normally about 4 inches in diameter. And that's a pretty big tool that you're going to need. And
Right.
Most people, if you're do-it-yourselfers, you're not going to have that type of plumber's tool or crescent wrench. So we provided some tools. Now we've got a large wrench with a measuring tape on it, so you can always measure out so you know exactly what you need, and you can tighten it without having to go through the expense of getting a new tool. And a second tool that we put in there is a nut driver. And this nut driver is specific for all the metal bolts that are underneath the tank that are holding the toilet tank to the bowl, as well as a opening for the fill valve lock nut. As some of you may know, that lock nut comes in different sizes or different configurations. And so having a tool that just goes right up in there and allows you to take it right off, it saves the consumer a lot of time and money getting those specialized tools.
That's great.
The third thing that comes in this kit that is not included in any of the other complete kits or any of the other kits is our new tank-to-bowl gasket system. Now, our new tank-to-bowl gasket system actually comprises of 2 gaskets, a friction washer, and, of course, the flush valve lock nut. And what we've done here is we've been able to take this gasket system and allow it to fit larger toilets that use thicker tank-to-bowl gaskets, like Gerber, for example. Gerber, on a lot of their toilets, will have an extra thick tank-to-bowl gasket. And, you know, if you're a consumer, you don't know if a gasket is thick or if it's thin.
Sure.
Here with this system, you don't have to guess anymore. You just put the 2 gaskets together, makes it extra thick, put it on, boom, you're done.
Yeah, that's
We
great.
also have one made for Kohler. And now the Kohler one is great because now we have a gasket specifically for the 3 bolts, and the Kohler, which is specific to 3 bolts, and the grommets are now available, so you don't have to buy extra parts. So the kit's really got everything. It's got everything you need, and it doesn't really matter what toilet you have anymore because we've got the right gasket for it.
I've run into some of the Kohler toilets with 3 bolts, and I wasn't able to find the replacement gasket at a hardware store or a home center. And the tank kits generally come with 2 bolts.
I'm glad you said that because our everything kit for the 2-inch comes with 3 bolts.
Right, that's great.
So now you have everything. You've got a tank lever, 3 bolts, the gasket system, some tools, and of course you've got our 400H, our most powerful fill valve, out right now to make sure that you can get the right amount of water in both the bowl and the tank with some very easy adjustments.
With your kit, you also get the flush handle?
Yes, we do. We package a little tank lever in there. It's our chrome tank lever. It's our model 681. And it's very cool because even though it's plastic, it can bend. And what's great about it is you can bend it in the shape that you need in case you have one of those pesky front corner toilet tanks mountings and you have to bend out the arm a little bit so it doesn't hit the front wall.
Right.
So it's really easy to use.
And these can be cut to size?
Yes, they can.
In the Everything kit, you get the Performax fill valve, which allows you to adjust the water in the tank and the bowl.
That is correct. Our new 400H Performax fill valve has 2 adjustments now. So it has one for the tank, which you can level the water in the tank so it stops somewhere underneath that overflow pipe. And then separately, you can adjust how much water should fill into the bowl or how less water goes into the bowl so that you're not wasting water.
Right.
A lot of times people will just put a standard fill valve in and they'll flush the toilet and the water just goes down into the overflow pipe, which is going directly into the bowl, and it fills the bowl up too high and then it siphons back down to level off. With the 400H, you now have a simple little bowl adjustment so that you can decrease the amount of water and you can save that water and not waste it down the proverbial drain.
Right. Right. With your 3-inch toilet repair kit, that's primarily for high-efficiency toilets?
The 3-inch? Yes. So the 3-inch kit, and as I said before, really has the difference of the overflow pipe or the flush valve. Now, this will come with the larger flapper, the 4-inch flapper. It also comes with the telescoping overflow pipe and the powerful 400H fill valve. But it is set because most toilets that are using this type of flush valve are actually using less than 1.6 gallons per flush.
Okay.
And so we see those high efficiency numbers being 1.28 gallons per flush, 0.08 gallons, 1 gallon per flush.
Wow.
And so how these work is that the flapper comes up and lets much less water flush into the bowl. Of course, it flushes it. This is where it's necessary to have that 400H, because now you can power up the water going back into the bowl so you can raise the water level up. If you used a standard valve, the bowl water would be so low that you wouldn't get a good flush continuing on.
How would you make the adjustment for the water going into the bowl?
By turning a little blue dial on the inside of the tank. On our fill valve, we have a little dial, and you just turn it left or right for more water or less water. And all you want to do, if you want to really see what's going on, is you just flush the toilet, let the water come up and settle, and then you mark a little line, right? So you know that's how much water should be in the bowl. The bowl will always tell you how much water it can support. Then when you flush the toilet, you can watch to see if the water in the bowl goes up over that line and then settles back down. If it does, you're probably using too much water, and going into the Fluidmaster fill valve there, turning the little dial back on itself a little bit, you can decrease the water going into the bowl, so when you flush next time, the water rises up to about that line and stops.
If a homeowner's replacing the parts in the tank and they didn't mark the water level in the bowl before they removed the parts, how do they know how high the water level should be?
Let's deal with the water inside the tank first.
Okay.
To make sure that we have a safe toilet, it is very important that we set the overflow pipe at least 1 inch below the hole where the tank lever comes through. Now, I'm strictly talking about the tank for now. I'll get to the bowl in just a second. Just follow me on this.
Okay.
So if you take everything out of your tank and you didn't make any lines or know where anything was before, which happens to all of us, I know the first time I did it that way. The object here is to set the flush valve so that it is 1 inch below the hole where the toilet handle will go through on the front wall of your tank.
Okay.
This is where the adjustment of that overflow pipe becomes really important, and by using the telescoping option, you can move it down or move it up. Once you have the flush valve set, then the fill valve has a very specific rule. In Fluidmaster's case, a Fluidmaster fill valve should always be 3 inches taller than the overflow pipe, almost the top of the cap assembly up to the rim.
Okay.
That is going to get you the water that you need to support the bowl inside the tank. Now, the toilet bowl, if there's not enough water in the bowl or you don't know, the simple thing to do, and we have this in our instructions, is to take a gallon of water and slowly pour it into the bowl up to the rim to overfill it. Let the bowl settle down. It'll siphon on its own and self-level, because the bowl water level can never go higher than the trap on the back end of the bowl.
Okay.
Once you know what that level is, just mark it with a pencil or a little marking pen, and that way when you start doing your flushes, you can see if the water goes up over that line and then an adjustment needs to be made, or if the water doesn't come up to that line, then a little bit more water needs to be made, and you can make that adjustment simply by twisting a little knob inside the tank.
Because with high-efficiency toilets, if there's not enough water in the bowl, you don't get a good flush?
In all toilets, not just high efficiency. What makes high efficiency really difficult to understand is that a regular 5-gallon tank, you drain the whole tank, and then the toilet refills the bowl the whole time the tank is filling up, and the bowl is monstrous. It's big. These higher efficiency toilets have a smaller geometry in the bowl, and they're using way less water. For example, if a 5-gallon tank is using all the water in the tank, a 1.6 gallon is using probably about half the water, a little bit more, maybe a little less than half the water in the tank.
Interesting.
So you only have half the time to fill up the bowl. In a high efficiency, you're using half of a half or a quarter of the water volume in the tank, which means that you have to put water into the bowl much more quickly to fill it up to the proper level. That's why the high performance fill valve comes with that secondary adjustment, so you can increase the speed to fill up the bowl. Because if the bowl doesn't get high enough, when you flush the toilet, you may have to flush it a couple of times to get everything to go down.
So whether I have a high-efficiency toilet or an older toilet, if I put a couple gallons of water in a 5-gallon bucket, then slowly pour that water into the bowl until it stops rising, I've found the correct height the bowl should be filled to for the best flush.
That is correct. The bowl is self-leveling. So no matter what age the bowl is, by doing this simple little trick, you'll always get what should be the correct level in the toilet. What happens is if the water level is too low, the water in the tank now has to fill up the bowl before it can go over the trap.
Right.
So you want the water level right at the trap, right at its right level. So when water starts entering that bowl starts siphoning out immediately and taking the waste down.
So for the tank, the top of the overflow pipe on the flush valve should be an inch below the hole for the handle, and the water level in the tank should be about a half an inch below the top of that overflow valve?
Yeah, that's about it. There's no real hard and fast rule, just somewhere below the overflow pipe that it stops.
Okay.
And a lot of people have a hard time judging that 3 inches. So on our everything kit, I told you we came with these little tools. We have on our red tool, our wrench tool, an actual measurement with 3 inches. So you can actually take the red tool and measure down to make sure you get that proper setting.
Yeah,
everything is there for you.
Right.
I don't know about you, but some new homeowners and one of the first things they tackle is a toilet bathroom, and they go to their trusted toolbox and they have a 2-inch plier.
Right.
It's not going to work.
Right.
So having the tools there makes it a lot better for the consumer. One other thing that's pretty cool about the packaging that nobody really knows is that the blister pack acts as a bucket. When you open the plastic blister pack,
Okay.
It's a big bowl. And when you take the water out of the tank and you move the fill valve up, there's always some residual water that's inside the tank.
Sure.
Now you don't have to go searching for a bucket. You just put the blister pack right under there, pull the fill valve up, let the water leak into it, and you've got a contained mess. Containment and no mess, excuse me. One of the things that I do want to let everyone know is the difference between the 2-inch and the 3-inch kit. One of the major differences you'll see right off the bat is on the 3-inch kit, we have 2 stainless steel bolts because the majority, if not all of the toilets out there that we've seen only take 2 bolts for these larger flush valve systems. Okay. And it also comes with a specialized 3-inch tank to bowl gasket. And so it's not like the tank to bowl gasket system you would get in the 2-inch, which has a very different amount of models of toilets to work with. On the 3-inch, it's a very simple solution, and it's a very easy thing to use. If it's the first time you've done it, read through the booklet. I think we've done a great job on the booklets that we have of explaining what to do. The fonts are a lot bigger. The pictures are colored, and they show exactly what we're looking at. Plus, we have what's really cool is our troubleshooting section. And, of course, you can always call Fluidmaster. Being the manager of technical services, my call center takes calls from customers all the time that need help on installations, where to buy products, will it fit? And you can always give us a call or live chat or email us Monday through Friday from 5:30 to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. There's nothing like talking to a live agent and getting that confidence that you need for something you're not sure about. Most people replace the inside parts of their toilet tank instead of replacing the toilet. You can spend $250 on a new toilet, or maybe $25, $30 on an everything kit, depending on where you go, and an hour, maybe 2 hours of your time, and boom, you've got basically a brand new toilet.
Right. Mike, if we wanted to learn more about the Fluidmaster products, where would we go?
Fluidmaster.com. Come to our website. We've got a great support page, all different types of troubleshooting. We've got product pages that explain what our products are, how they work, video installations, live chat, anything that you need to know or questions. We have an 800 number, which is 1-800-631-2011. We're here and we're ready to help.
I appreciate it, Mike. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
That was a great interview. Do you have anything else to add?
According to the Consumer Federation of America, home improvement contractors were in the top 10 nationwide complaints, with shoddy work, failure to start the job, failure to complete the job, and failure to have required licensing or registration as the main problems. So do your homework when you're hiring a contractor.
Right. Let's wrap this up.
You can subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast app.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review.
You can check out our home improvement videos on our YouTube channel, Fix It Home Improvement.
And you can subscribe to that as well.
You can download our ebooks, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, books 1 through 15 on Amazon.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating and review.
You can email us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow Cindy on Twitter at FixItCohost, and you can follow us on Instagram, Fixit Home Improvement.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you next week.